Okay, today we're going to be building the trigger mechanism that will fire our little trebuchet. Okay, so you should have some leftover wood from the rails of the trough sides. So grab a piece and cut about 1 3/4 to 2 inches off. Doesn't really matter too much. And what we're going to do is we're going to make a little mark at the end, eyeball the center, and you could probably take your little hand drill and just do a tiny bit of a hole, like just like an, not deep. We're not actually drilling a hole. We're just making an indentation that'll help us start our little eye bolt. So go into your spare parts bag and grab your little eye bolt out and go ahead and twist that in. Now you might need to get something to help you twist it. It gets a little tight. So something that can fit through. I have an old nail, so I'll just take the nail and put it in and twist it back and forth. Okay. And as long as it's nice and tight, once it gets tight and hard to turn, another 2 turns beyond that should be fine. So now what we're gonna do next is we're actually gonna do a little handle wrap, similar to the handle wrap we did with the steam bent rake in the first project. So let's get some string here. And then the string that you have, I provided, before we do anything with it, cut off about a foot worth, 8 inches to a foot. Cut about that much off, okay? So let's take that. First we'll take the long string that we have and we'll start winding from the end that we have the little eye bolt on. And I'm gonna pull the string down a little bit and start winding at the top and then wind over the string just so it holds that string in place. And once I get 4 or 5 string wraps in, what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna use my fingers and kind of just square them up a little bit. And I'm gonna take that extra piece that I'd cut out that was about 1 foot long, and I'm gonna form it into a loop like this. And I'm gonna take the loop part and put it down here towards the bottom where I'm wrapping towards, and the 2 string parts are over here with the eye bolt, so that it's going to be available for me to pull on once I wind this. So I'm going to wind this all the way down until I get about 1/4 inch to the end. I'm going to wind it, with a little bit of tightness, but not so tight that it's hard to pull the loop out later on. What's going to happen is when we pull when we get done, I'm going to feed the free end, which I'm going to do right now. My wrapping string goes through the loop like this. I'm going to hold on to the strings so they don't slide off, and I'm going to pull on these free ends of the loop and then pull until the string comes through. Okay? Okay. So we have the string like this. Now leave this extra string here because we're going to need it. It's going to go through our trough. We're going to drill a hole and pass that through and then tie a knot so it can't come back through. Okay? So let's do that now. So on the edge of the trough, closest to me, I drilled a hole already. So you're going to use your hand drill, and I recommend once you use your hand drill, you take it and you ream it back and forth a few times to really make sure that you get that hole drilled out well. Take our piece of string, and which is the end's probably frayed by now a little bit, but that's fine because what we could do is take a little bit of masking tape. My kids are going absolutely insane upstairs. I don't know if you can hear them. So I'm just gonna take as small a piece of masking tape as I can to get the job done. So I have a little tiny piece of masking tape that I'm gonna wrap around the tip. And what I'm doing is I'm just creating like one of those things that are at the end of your shoelaces that allows us to put it through the hole when we lace our shoes. I'm just gonna bind up the tip, okay? And I'm gonna put it through that hole I drilled at the end of my trough. And that hole I drilled through, again, you should really try to widen it out as best you can so it'll make it easier to pass it through. But I gave you a nail in that last bag, and you also have these dowel pieces. And you should be able to push it through enough. If you widen that hole out, that look at, I passed it all the way through, and now the string is all the way through. So I'm gonna take that little string, and I'm gonna pull it through until my triggering block of wood stands upright. What do I mean? Now look at that. See how it stands upright? Now I'm going to try to keep it there and then tighten up a knot underneath it. And that knot will prevent it from going back through. So this is where you want the knot to land, so that it's basically standing straight up like this. There's a knot, and now it can't go much higher. It can go a little higher, but not much. Okay, now that we have that in place there, we can put our swing arm down, and I'm going to take my little triggering block. This is what we're going to call this, my trigger block. And I'm going to line it up with a spot on our swing arm where I should drill a hole and put a dowel in so I can have this thing hook onto it. Now I did that already. So what I did is I lifted this up. I made a mark where that was. I held it in place, made that mark. And then I took and I drilled a hole so I could insert a dowel. Now, if you only drill the hole one time with the hand drill and you don't ream it out a bunch of times, it should be tight enough that you could probably not even use any glue on here. And that might be a good idea, because this is going to be a really the most fragile thing on our whole thing. Our whole trebuchet is going to be this little thing sticking out, okay? So I'm just going to leave it there if it stays there without falling out on its own. That way, if I need to replace it, I might be able to just grab it with a pair of pliers and pull it out. So now, if you look, my trigger mechanism fits onto the swing arm nicely. Okay, so now, the only thing I have left to do is figure out a way to trigger the trigger. I have some more of my string left. So what I could do is I can create a little loop or just tie a knot underneath the head of my eye bolt. Just underneath the head. I'm gonna tie it once, tie it again, and then trim off my excess. And watch this. I got my string. Boop. Trigger. Now, if you really want to be clever, and if you have a second eye bolt at home or you want to go buy one, I put a second eye bolt down here. Why, you say? Well, the way the trigger is operating now, I would have to stand to the side right here and pull it. But if I do it like, if I put a second eye bolt right here, now I can pull the string straight back. I can pull it straight back this way. So I can stand behind it. That way I can sight in my shot a little better and pull this way, and it will come right off. So I don't have to pull it directly to the side. I can pull it from over here. So that's a little modification if you wanted to make. You could have this work a couple different ways. If you had a little staple, like a fencing staple, let's say you have like a chicken coop or something like that, your parents built over the summer because everyone got chickens when quarantine started. By the way, if you have chickens you don't want anymore, I'll take them. But so if you have any of those type of things, anything that could be a metal loop that a string could pass through easily, that would work perfectly. You know, I just demonstrate again, pull this way, comes off, and then this will swing and fly that way. Tomorrow, what we're going to do tomorrow, this remainder of the class time this week that we're going to be working on this, we're going to be attaching our counterweight to the other side, and then putting our little pin in that's going to actually shoot our projectile. And by Friday, we should be 2 more days of this, and we should be firing these things, okay? So everyone go out and buy some big fat marshmallows so you can shoot them across the room into your friends' mouths or whatever we're gonna do with these things. You know, get some ping pong balls and some solo cups, and we can try to do those too. I don't know, whatever you kids do. All right, anyways, I'm just talking because 3 more seconds will be exactly 10 minutes. And now, bye.